Would you like to become an apocalyptic asteroid? Then keep watching and I'll show you how you can do that with the new Titan exotic Pyrogale Gauntlets. PSA, if you want to get all three of the new gauntlets without having to wait for gauntlets to be the Lost Sector reward, then check out the VSF. I was able to get all three on day one of the season within about an hour or two. I'll show you how you can do this, as well as review the exotic and provide a build to maximize its potential. But first, if you like this video and want to see reviews of the other two exotics and other new content this season, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like anything, please share it with your friends. So what does the exotic do? Its perk, Percussive Flames, modifies Burning Maul into a single high damage slam of your hammer that creates 5 cyclones of flame. And on screen now you should be able to see before and after differences of this effect. It completely changes it from a roaming type super to a single one-off damage super that will also do damage over time. And if you get really fancy using something like swapping to Syntheseps, you can really boost the damage of this exotic. Now, I'm going to be showing gameplay that only shows this exotic and no hot swaps, but you can definitely check out videos out there to see how to really turn this up. But I have to imagine that Destiny is going to eventually try to nerf this, so that's why I'm focusing on just this exotic and no swapping. In addition to possibly creating a new meta DPS super by allowing you to swap to your weapon damage while it's doing damage over time, it also buffs the Consecration melee to include a Seeking Solar Cyclone on the second slam. Because we will be using Sol Invictus, which creates sunspots on solar final blows, both the Burning Maul Super Cyclones and the Consecration Melee Cyclone will create sunspots. There will be sunspots all over the battlefield with this build and this exotic. For weapons, I thought this would be a perfect build to pair with Monte Carlo, since this will be getting a ton of melee kills, proccing Markov Chain to boost Monte Carlo's damage, and to improve our melee regeneration via its other perk, Monte Carlo Method, which regenerates melee energy while doing damage and has a chance to fully refund melee energy on kills. And as you can see here, really regenerating energy quite quickly and refunding in full fairly often. So just a great synergy. Unfortunately, I do not currently have the catalyst to show in this video, but I will try to do an update when I do. For weapons, I recommend anything solar, but preferably something with incandescence so you can really spread those sunspots all over the battlefield. Of course, for your super, you're going to need to use Burning Maul if you want to utilize the exotic's perk. And to best utilize it, I would also recommend running Consecration so that you can get the melee benefited from the exotic as well. You could, if you only wanted to max out the damage that you're doing through the super, substitute in Roaring Flames so that you can get that damage buff on the super and just ignore the Consecration melee. But for my build, I'm going a little bit more all around ad clear, so I'm using Consecration. I went with Throwing Hammer because if you accidentally use your power melee without sliding, you don't lose it like you would if you were using Hammer Strike. You use that, you gotta wait for it to recharge. But you accidentally throw the Throwing Hammer, you just pick it back up again. Also gives you a nice little range option for some little bit of flexibility in your play, and you can get another source of healing from the cure. I went with Ember of Ashes so that we can apply more scorch stacks from those sunspots and cyclones and grenades, and everything is just going to make things ignite much faster. To make those ignitions more deadly, I went with Ember of Char so that when they ignite, they've spread scorch, more scorch stacks, and it just rolls on itself. Further strengthening those ignitions, I went with Ember of Eruption so that those ignitions will have an increased area of effect. Last but not least, I went with Ember of Empyrean. Solar Weapon Final Blows extend the duration of restoration that you'll be getting all the time from your sunspots, and Radiant Effects just giving you a super nice boost of survivability with all that heal chaining by all your sunspots. Any solar weapon damage, you're running around in close quarters, you need a heal, this will give it to you nonstop. For stats, I prioritized resilience, and then I went for intellect. If you have stats left over, you might want to go for strength to help your melee recharge faster, or maybe discipline, because you're going to be able to get your melee back pretty fast with the 1-2 finisher. I went with Harmonic Siphon and Kinetic Siphon so that I could generate a lot of orbs from our Monte Carlo and solar weapons. I also went with Hands On so that all of the melees that we're going to be doing will help us get our super back faster. For gloves, I went with Momentum Transfer so that causing damage with our grenade will help to reduce our melee cooldown. I went with heavy-handed so that our melees that we're going to be doing all the time are going to be generating so many orbs. And finally, I went with impact induction so that causing melee damage helps to reduce our grenade and kind of just loop back on the first mod. Depending on the content you're running, you will probably want to put things that will help. For boots, I went with the amazing low cost 1 energy solar scavenger. Thank you so much, Bungie, for putting this on the seasonal artifact. And invigoration, so that all of the orbs of power we're generating help to further reduce our melee cooldown. And then finally, I went with stacks on stacks so that we can get additional armor charges when picking up orbs. For our class item, finally, I went with 1-2 finisher. These mods are always so great, the finisher mods. You're going to be generating a ton of orbs, you're going to be getting a ton of armor charges, you're going to be up in enemies' faces all the time because of the sliding melee you're going to be doing. So anybody who gets injured but not killed, you're going to be right there to finish them. And you can get your melee right back if you weren't already getting it fast enough from all the other sources. I also went with powerful attraction so that we can get a little bit of boost on orb pickup if we use our class ability. And then finally, I went with proximity ward, as we are going to be focusing on finishers in this build in addition to the melee, so you'll be getting extra survivability on top of all the healing you're going to be getting with that powerful overshield that you get from your finisher. Now, how can you get this even if it's not the Lost Sector reward for the day? Well, what you're looking for is a public event on Neomuna that spawns randomly called Vex Strike Force incoming. You won't be able to tell from the map, so you need to actually hover over the icon for the public event. And it's unfortunately not very common. And it's even impossible when the terminal overload and Vex incursion zones are in the same area on the map, unfortunately. You just kind of have to wait for that to cycle until they're different locations. But the public event will always spawn where the Vex incursion zone is. You've probably stumbled across it by accident. It's a pretty epic public event with a lot of yellow bars. You gotta take down strong Minotaur shields. And once that's all done, you're guaranteed to get an exotic. I got all 3, and it was 1 reward per character, and I think it's per week. Thankfully, there are tools out there to help us with this, and the one that I used was the Vex Network Discord channel. In this assistant channel, you'll be able to see notifications for when the event happens. And so while it is random, if you have this enabled, you get those notifications, then you know, okay, let's pop over to Neomuna and get this done. Big thanks to these guys, and I'll have a link to their Discord channel in the description. And that's the video. Hope you guys have a lot of fun with this exotic. Hope you found this video to be helpful. And as always, please subscribe and share. Thank you so much.